What does it mean to be back here in this city and to play against Belgrade too?
It means a lot. I love this city. I love this country. I love Serbians. I love everything about this place, and yeah, it's an honor to be here again.
As you just now mentioned, you never hear your affection to Serbian people, Serbian basketball role. Can you maybe explain what is the roots of that and why?
Genuinely, I really don't know. When I think about it, I don't know. I remember my earliest Serbian friend that I had. His name was Mirko, and I went to high school with him, with Dante Exum as well. And like when I think about that connection, I just remembered his personality was so different, but like I loved everything. He was very confident. He joked around, but like he was also serious, and he was a great basketball player. And that's the first person of Serbian descent that I know. And as I've gotten older and I've played basketball, obviously, I think it really started for me last season, with the incidents that happened against both teams. And just as I've gotten to know more about Serbian culture, I love everything about Serbia. I feel like I'm a big LeBron fan, and the only game I've ever rooted against his team was when Serbia played the U.S. in the Olympics. Yeah, when I think about that, it's something special for sure.
I remember that first game, the first memorable game was against Partizan, that free throws.
Yeah.
I think that started it all.
Started everything, it started everything. And for me, I thought it was another game, but it was a special moment, and then it continued when we played Red Star, and I missed the free throw, and then again when we played in Belgrade against Red Star, I got an offensive rebound on a free throw. So special moments that happen, against Serbian teams, and it happened for a reason. So.
What about tomorrow's game? The Partizan seems to be on a roll. What do you expect tomorrow?
Yeah, it's a huge game for us. It's a huge game for them. They're playing really well right now. Obviously, we've had this, 3-week break from playing, so hopefully for us, they're not playing as well, and it hurts them. But, obviously, I don't need to speak about the crowd. We know what to expect, and I think the only thing I'll say is for my teammates that haven't played in this environment before is just embrace it and enjoy it. It's going to be fun.
It's not going to be a full gym tomorrow. There's what do you say? Fine.
Okay. How many people it won't?
20% less.
Okay. That's good for us. That's good for us.
Is there any player that kind of caught your eye in Partizan's side? You're a fan of his game, let's say.
I'm a fan of a lot of people, but the player I would say is Carlik Jones, just because there was rumors of him signing to Baskonije last season, and then he ended up going to China. And when I was with Sacramento in the G League, I paid attention to guys like that, and his name and his game stood out to me. I love everything about him. I was super disappointed when he didn't come to Baskonije, but when he came to Partizan, I was surprised that it took him a long time. It took him some time to be given the keys to the team. I thought, he was for sure the best player on the team, coming in, and he had a triple-double against America. I'm a big fan of him, and yeah, he's special.
Speaking about rumors, Čima Moneke rumors last.
Wow.
Maybe only the Mirotic saga was maybe crazier, but how did you see your summer?
Yeah, man, it was
The media from everything, it probably had a million messages.
Yeah, no, it was crazy, and like genuinely, I tried to take a break from Twitter, especially just because last summer, my season ended early because of the injury. So I started to plan things like I wanted to travel a lot, and I did, and it just felt like every single day I would go on my phone and someone is sending me an article or someone's messaging me saying, is this true? Is this true? And I'm genuinely like, no, I don't know. I don't know where it came from. I would call my agent because I went ways with I separated from my previous agent, and I called him and I'm like, yo, what's going on here? And it was like, I don't know where it's coming from. And later there was some more news, but I just think if it didn't come to me personally, then it shouldn't be on Twitter. And I think that's probably my least favorite part about European basketball.
And talking about Partizan, of course, you have a big friend here in Vanja Marinkovic. he's now back on the court. Have you guys been in touch, and how would you describe your relationship with him?
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously we did the interview together, and he reminds me of Mirko, you know, the friend that I talked about. They're very similar. I love Vanya. We don't speak as much, but it's one of those relationships that whenever we see each other in person, we laugh and we talk for hours. And, you know, obviously I interviewed him before we played our first game of the season in October. And we caught up and we talked, and, you know, I'm just happy that he's happy. I'm glad that he's back, and yeah, it's always going to be fun playing against him.
And you mentioned Carlick Jones as one of the threats before the upcoming game, but I'm wondering what it is like for you as a player to prepare for teams corporate for that age. How specific is it, you know, to prepare against his setups and stuff like that, and tell him? Honestly,
to me, that's not my responsibility. That's the coach's responsibility, and whatever game plan they provide to us, we have to do our job to follow the game plan, you know, to the best of our ability. But, you know, when I'm on the court, when I'm preparing for a team, I'm thinking about the players, but then I'm thinking about myself and which player do I expect to guard me and what type of things. But, you know, I feel like I'm in a good groove right now, and I love the way I'm playing, so I'm just focusing more on me and my teammates.
You mentioned interviews. You have a substantial amount of interviews under your belt. Whose story was the most interesting this year?
Ooh, like the interviews that I've done for other people? Man. I feel like a lot of those people, like, I knew their story before, I was friends with them, or I was, you know, close with them. But for some reason, you know, Matthias, aside from TJ, I would say Matthias was the one that, you know, it touched me, and just because he's doubted, I compare myself, I see a lot of myself in him just because, you know, he was doubted for so long, and people said so many stupid, false things about him, and I feel like I go through that, and, you know, he's done what I want to do in terms of winning the Euroleague. So yeah, when I look back at that interview and then knowing that he ended up winning the Euroleague title, is just, he deserves it, and it's a beautiful story for him.
Is there like how do you see the entire Euroleague season so far? Is there any team that kind of stands out?
Yeah, I think it's clear that Olympiacos is the best team this season. I feel like it's different to a couple seasons ago and last year. There's more teams that are in the middle that, you know, can beat anyone on any given day, but it's a different type of season. And I think it makes it harder for us, you know, fighting for a play-in, just because there's only one clear dominant team, in my opinion. And that means there's more teams in the middle, and it'll be harder to get a play-in or a playoff spot. And I think that when it comes down to the end of the season, there may be a team that'll be in 4th place, and they may lose their last couple games and finish in 7th or 8th. You know, that's what I feel like is going to happen.
Number 8.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And the game of Paris versus Fenerbahce coming up next week is super important.
It seems like Euroleague is in a great place. Everybody's competitive. Everybody's watching the games. We see it that way.
Yeah, you know, I know I watch the games. You know, I'm a big EuroLeague fan. I'm excited that it's back, and honestly, more than playing, I love when it's a double week and we just won our game and we get to sit down and watch, you know, 4 or 5 competitive games. But I love the direction that the EuroLeague is going, and I hope that everyone involved continues to do everything that we can to make it even better.
When you talk about your interviews, we heard first time about drunkenness of Serbian national team in your interview with Lithuania.
Yeah.
And now we watched that in Netflix movie.
Yeah.
Did you watch that movie?
Yeah. I love that moment, obviously seeing that, paying attention to social media and seeing all of that, and then getting behind the scenes stories from Vanya was amazing. I'm glad that they spoke about it openly and they didn't hide details from us, just because it's such an amazing moment, and I feel like everyone that was watching that game on that day remembers where they were, and I think it adds to it. They're human beings, seeing, you know, the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic, be himself is just amazing. And the last thing I'll say about that is, Vanya, I played with Vanya last season, and he's one of the most like stoic, doesn't show emotion, doesn't smile the most, and people think he's always angry. But the Vanya that I saw playing for Serbia, I think that shows what it means to be Serbian and to play for each other. I think that's something that I love so much, and seeing how they were celebrating, him standing up and just smiling, amazing.
You can say that about most players in that Serbian team.
You can say that about every single one of them. Every single one of them is they're themselves, and you know, I see Pesic was here, the legendary coach. Shout out to him. He's great. I haven't met him yet. I'm gonna hopefully say what's up to him, but he gets a lot of credit for that.
I want to talk a little bit more about your podcasting and the idea behind it and the importance of podcasts, especially in European basketball. We're seeing players leading podcasts, Christian podcasts or whatever, more and more, especially overseas. But here in Europe, you're like I don't want to say pioneer, but one of the...
I'm not the pioneer, but I feel like I'm doing it the best in the Euroleague. I got to give a shout out to Trey Drexel. He's been doing it for 4 or 5 years. Obviously, he doesn't play the EuroLeague right now, but you know, he's been very consistent, and I applaud him just because it just helps everyone. It helps everyone, and when I started doing it, you know, for years before that, I knew that I had the personality for it. You know, I'm not one way off camera and then the camera comes on and I'm a different person. I'm the same at all times. And I feel like people can relate to that. And I know that a lot of people, they want to say things, but they're shy, they're awkward, they're not confident. So I feel like I'm the voice for those people. And yeah, ever since, I had no expectations when I started, and now that it's 13 months into it, I have over 60,000 subscribers. It's crazy to me. But the best part about it is the messages I get from fellow athletes, whether they're playing in second division, whether they're playing in, you know, in a place that they don't want to be in, they're struggling, whatever the situation is, whether they're 15 years old, I don't know. There's so many messages that I've gotten from these people that inspires me to keep going. And I only have one goal, to get to 100,000 subscribers, and then from there we'll see.
You mentioned that number of 60,000 subscribers, and I assume you know the analytics behind your videos and stuff like that. So I'm interested in how big part of your audience is to Serbia.
A huge part, for sure, a huge part. I think the last time I checked, it was 28 or 30%, and that's 1/3. You know, that's a lot. It's growing elsewhere, but definitely Serbia has been my #1 supporter for sure. You know, since, huh?
Why do you think that's the case?
I think there's several reasons, but I'm just grateful for it. That's the most important thing, and the love that Serbia has given me, you know, I give them that same love back.
Who will be your perfect guest? Who do you want to have an episode with, to chat with on your podcast the most?
LeBron or Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously, but I would say, you know, I wanna do more legends and more coaches. You know, Spanulis would be great. Working on that. Someone that I know through connections would be absolutely perfect, because they don't like to do interviews, is Nikola Jokic. I think that would be incredible, but I don't really expect that to happen unless, you know, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, there's several people, and I'm a fan of everyone.
You want to talk about Final Four?
Yeah, I think Olympiacos, I think Monaco, I think Fenerbahce, and I think Paris. That's, you know, my podcast, that's the same 4 that I've given. But I also see a way for Red Star especially to get in there because of their home court advantage. Obviously, Partizan has the same thing, but they're in what, 9th place? Right? What position are they? 8th place right now. So Red Star's in a better position to have top 4, and I don't think anyone will want to see them in the playoffs starting on the road. So there's a chance. I feel like this year we're going to get a lot of surprises, but I'm not going to change my Final Four pick.
And this year our Final Four will be played in Abu Dhabi. that's like the next step to raise the popularity of EuroLeague. Doing podcasts as yourself is also another way. But do you think maybe there's room for an all-star game? Then could that be beneficial to the EuroLeague and could reach of EuroLeague throughout the world and Europe?
That would be amazing. That would be incredible. But obviously, playing in Europe is not just one umbrella. You know, you have FIBA, you have EuroLeague, you have all these different, you know, organizations. It's not like the NBA, but you know, you see the French league. I think they have maybe the only, maybe Russia still. I don't know if they still have it, but they still have it. The French league all-star game is incredible. Dunk contest, and it's all on one day. There's no way we can't find one day, but I just know that there's a lot of things that will have to go into it. But whatever helps with growing the game, I'm all for it. So.
Who would be your picks for like five-a-side Team World to play against Team Europe?
Team World? So everyone that's not European. Oof. Yeah, me, I'm on there for sure. I'll have TJ on there. We need Mike on there for sure. I mean, there's too many good people. Too many guards especially. But as long as I'm on that team, I'll be grateful. But there's just too many really good players in Europe. Perfect, thank you guys.